welcome to episode 21. It's so good to see you here today.
Holly, Chris, Jack, Leo, Seth, 祝你们一路平安，学业有成，天天向上。
I am incredibly excited about this week's episode because we got to go over and have dinner with a friend who was willing to give us an interview talking all about Alexander technique. I can't wait for you to hear all the things he had to say. So, without further ado, please welcome to the program, Matthew Richardson! Hey there, Matthew!
Hi, Spec. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. It's so awesome to have you on the show today.
It's so awesome to be on the show today. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. This is so special for us. I've heard that you are familiar with something called Alexander technique.
I am. It's something that I've been doing in my life for a long time, and I'm in the process of learning how to become a teacher.
That's perfect, because I don't have any idea what that is.
Well, I'm so glad that we're here today. I can show you what I know.
I would love that. So, what is Alexander technique?
Well, the Alexander technique was started by a man named F.M. Alexander in the mid-1800s. He was an actor in Australia, and he would stand on stage and say his lines out loud for everyone to hear, and he kept losing his voice. And so he was trying to figure out what he was doing when he was saying his lines that led him to lose his voice. And in the process of that, he discovered all sorts of things about himself. And then when other people came to him who had been losing their voices, he found out that they were doing some of the same things that he was. And so he used what he learned about himself to help other people have more success as well.
Well, what kinds of things was he doing that was making him lose his voice?
It's really fascinating what he found out. So, I don't know, you have a pretty fancy wardrobe here, Spec, so I'm guessing that you have been to one of those fancy department stores where they have all those mirrors that are lined up and you stand and you can look at them and you can see yourself from all the different sides.
Yeah, I've seen those before. I've seen them in a carnival. One of them made me look really skinny. One made me look really big.
Exactly, that's exactly what I'm talking about. So what he did is he set up a room full of those mirrors all around him so he could see himself from all sides. And what he discovered is that when he would have times that he was really losing his voice quickly, he found that what it really came down to was the relationship of his head and his neck and his spine to the rest of his body. And then he looked at other people and he found out that when they were having trouble with their voice, that was what was wrong as well. And then he found out that people who were having trouble doing all sorts of things, that was really the most important piece of the puzzle to help them find better ability to do whatever it is they wanted to do.
Wow. And you teach this?
Well, I'm learning how to teach it right now. It's a long process, but I'm getting there.
You sit very straight, so I guess you're a good student.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm glad you think that I have some poise and dignity in my seating.
I just said you sit straight.
Well, I guess I said that because sometimes people have the idea that they should sit up really straight, and so they squeeze a lot of their body to be able to look like they're sitting right up straight. But really they're using all sorts of muscles inside their body, and they get tired really quickly. I don't know if you've ever tried that, Spec, where if someone said, sit up straight, you held yourself like this, and then you got really tired, and then your back started to hurt, so you would just sort of slump for the rest of the day. Yeah, it's hard to stand like that. So what Alexander he found is that if you think of like your ears are kind of above your shoulders, and then your shoulders are kind of above your ribs, and your ribs are kind of above your butt. Overall, your weight is gonna go into whatever you're sitting inside of or sitting on top of, and that way you don't have to use as much effort to hold yourself up straight. Whereas if I lean back a lot, now I have to use my whole body to keep myself from falling over. Or if I lean way forward, I'd have to use my body to keep from falling over too. But if I kind of just sort of let all my weight go right into the thing that I'm sitting on, this chest right here, then I don't have to work as hard. And the same thing's true no matter what direction what you're doing, whether you're standing, you're sitting, you're playing golf, swimming, riding a horse, all those things. Singing in French.
I have a friend who does that.
I've seen him. He's great.
So, if I wanted to sing or ride a horse, why wouldn't I just naturally be able to do that? What sorts of things are getting in the way of me just doing that right from the beginning?
Well, you know, Spec, there are some people who just can do it right out of the gate and don't have any problems and things go really well for them, and that's fantastic. But there are some times where you just come up with these ideas, these stories that we tell ourselves about how our body is put together. And when we tell ourselves a story about how our body's put together that's not true, then we start to run into some problems. Some of the big ones that I see are, you know about your spine? You know how if you feel your back, you feel those little bumps that go up and down your back? A lot of people think that that is the big, heavy, thick part of your spine. But actually, those little bumps that go up and down your back are just the very edge of your spine. Your spine actually goes right down the middle of your body. And so if you thought that your spine was in your very back, right along your back, you might try to hold yourself aligned with your very back instead of holding yourself along the middle, like the core of an apple. So here is a picture of that. Lucky you, I just happened to have a picture. So you see here, if we look at this picture here, this is probably the best one in the middle here. You see he's got this big spine here, and the spine is nice and thick. And the thickest part of the spine is the vertebral body, is what they call it, is actually basically in the middle of him from front to back. So if you put one hand on your belly button and one hand on your lower back, there's a lot of space between those two hands. And the main part of your spine is right between those. It's not along those little bumps that you feel. Understanding that your spine is in the middle of your body really helps you to sort of organize the way that you move. And the same thing is true up where your neck connects to your head. So if you take one hand and you take that hand and you point your finger right in front of your ear hole. Can you find your ear hole? There it is, there it is. That's about where your spine connects to your head, which is crazy. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do a little experiment here, okay?
Okay.
So we're gonna move our head from side to side, and you're gonna start by doing exactly what we just talked about. You're gonna have one hand next to your ear hole, and you're gonna think that that is where your head turns from. That's the joint where it turns from. So let's turn from the center of your head, from side to side. That's the easiest way to move your head because that's where the joint really is. Now let's do what a lot of people do and what F.M. Alexander did and a lot of why he had a lot of his trouble. He thought the joint where his head moved was in the back. So if the joint is in the back and you go to move your head from here, there's a lot more tension that's involved because you have to sort of hold your head in a certain way instead of just embracing where the actual joint is. It's like if you tried to open a door from the middle of the door instead of opening the door from where the door connected to the wall.
Oh, I get it.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. It's sort of hard to describe, but it's really easy to feel.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that with me today.
Well, thank you so much for listening. It's a pleasure to get to talk to you.
I'm curious if you might be able to help me with something that I've been dealing with lately.
I would love to.
So, before every show, I like to wave to everyone who's watching. And I go,
Yay! That's such a happy thing to do.
yeah, but sometimes my arm gets tired.
Well, let's see what we can explore with that, shall we?
Yay, I'd love that.
That sounds great. So, first let's start off with some basic stuff. Your arms move as part of your whole body. The muscles that move your arms start just above your butt in your back. And there are these beautiful muscles that grow up all along your back structure here. And as they come out that way, they come out through your arms, and that's how your arm raises. So instead of raising your arm from your shoulder or from your elbow or from your hand, if you think of your arm coming up and being supported through the muscles of your back as your back widens and comes out through the arms here, then you've got a lot more big muscles helping you move your arm than if you try to do it with just your arm muscles. So if it comes up all through your wings and the arms expand and it comes up this way and then you go, yay! Then you can do a big wave from your entire body instead of just moving your hand.
Okay, I'd like to give it a try.
That sounds great. Let's try it. First, let's try it the way you usually do it, by just moving your hand, and let's see what that feels like, shall we?
Okay.
All right, so here it comes up. You say hello, everybody, and you go, yay! All right.
Yeah.
Whew. Now let's see if we can explore the other way. So we sit here, nice and tall, with our weight going into the ground. It's a beautiful thing. You feel the muscles of your back expanding up all the way through your arms like you've got big wings that are getting ready to take flight. And you raise one hand and your muscles support that hand, and then you wave with your hand already supported. And what does it feel like? Yay! There's so much power and grace and beauty. Look at that!
That was amazing!
Yes! That was wonderful. Great job.
Thanks so much, Matthew.
Oh, it was my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Yay!
Yay!